Okay, and welcome back to another edition of Let's Talk Ghosts. Today we have two new not necessarily new things to talk about. The first one with top billing is the second episode of The Searchers, which is Shane Pittman's group. Sorry, Josh and Ray, but you don't get the top billing. Anyway, this is the Paranormal Mind episode 2, and it's the Centerville Steamboat Inn.
Yes.
First off, cool gadgets.
Yes.
They actually used, we'll get back to that. Anyway, cool gadgets. They're talking, I really enjoyed this episode. In their talk in the beginning, one of the things that they said, they wanted to go into this place with no preconceived ideas. They wanted the slate wiped clean so that they could pick things out as...
fresh.
Yeah, fresh. Which was really cool. They had that few minutes, really. I'm jumping straight into the investigation. As before, they did that preliminary interview and all that, preparation, but jumping straight into the investigation because this was the best part. They spent very little time on that first floor.
Yeah.
They went up into the attic, and that's where they spent most of their time, and it was good.
Amazing.
Yeah. So because they have heard that people really enjoyed their sensory deprivation stuff so well. Thank you very much for listening to us. We're doing that again.
Yeah.
But the cool gadgets, they actually had an extra piece of gadgetry from Bill Chappell, who you may have heard mostly works with Ghost Adventures. But he is an amazing engineer, and he's created all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So what they had were these glasses that had these LED lights constantly blinking.
Yeah. It was to make your mind so busy that...
Yeah. Yeah, so so the opposite of overload or deprivation is overload, and that's what they wanted to do with this. So you'd put the glasses on, and these... Honest to God, if you were epileptic or something, you couldn't really watch that because those lights are just flashing constantly. I'm assuming that these guys, none of them have seizure disorders because they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So they put the glasses on. They've got earplugs in their ear. I'm not sure what they were listening to. I couldn't.
White noise.
Was it just white noise?
Yeah.
So he was listening to white noise in his ears, and they sat opposite this guy. This person would sit opposite from the one with the sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
And that's where it got interesting.
Yeah. Because they worked off each other.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that they spent so much time on this.
Yeah.
It easily was 3/4 of the episode. So you actually got to see and hear the investigation, where a lot of times shows kind of gloss that over really quickly to get to something else.
Yeah.
These guys don't do that.
And another thing I really liked is they switched out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one was wearing the sensory deprivation, and then the other one would be wearing the...
Yeah, and the other person's on the camera doing the stuff.
And
And then they rotated through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was good.
That was brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because the first time it was Ray that had the sensory overload stuff on, and he wasn't getting a lot.
Yeah.
He got a little bit of stuff, but not a lot. Josh was getting a fair bit of feelings mostly when he was wearing the sensory deprivation stuff. So it was really quite interesting. And then they switched them out. Shane got into the overload stuff, and that's when things really kicked up.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think Shane might be a bit of a sensitive or something because he was really getting a lot of stuff. Roundabout then is also when they switched things out. So Josh took the camera, Ray took over the sensory deprivation, and that's where he got more.
Yeah.
So with the overload, not so much, but with the deprivation, he did.
Yeah.
And that was really, really good.
And you could tell when Ray was sitting there how he would his head would come down and all of a sudden he'd speak. And then his head would go down again and he would stop. And then his head would come up and he would speak again.
Yeah, he said he felt later on, he felt like waves where he would...
And you could see them.
Yeah, it was, once you knew what you were looking for, you could really see them. Yeah. And I found it interesting, very interesting, that Ray and Shane were basically answering and commenting on the same thing, just using different words.
Yeah. The tree was so interesting because he could smell the fire, could see the fire, and he seen these two girls run up to the fire. And
then Ray saying one. So maybe there was one girl, but you're seeing two sides of her.
Yeah.
I mean, hard to say, right?
It's hard to say.
But in the very beginning, as soon as was it Josh or was it Ray that got the noise cancel, the sensory deprivation stuff on, the first word that came out was Undertaker. Yeah. Would that not creep you out?
Yeah.
I think that would creep me out crazily. Undertaker. Uh-oh. So yeah, it was really, really well done in that they spent so much time. Yeah. And I also liked when they did the debrief now, because of course they do it in the 3 parts. Yeah. They said that this was still, they had no resolution and it was still an open-ended situation.
Yeah. So they're going to be going back.
One of the things that Shane said was he felt like it was almost like a paranormal musical chairs because they'd switch things out, but the connection that they had established was never severed. So it didn't matter who was sitting in the chair; they were still getting all the stuff, which was cool.
And it was the same stuff.
The same stuff, yeah. And so they're thinking, and I think this would be brilliant, they think that maybe what's happening between that last episode and this one now is that they are starting to learn to use their senses, and eventually, and I can't wait for this to happen, is to see if they can get rid of the equipment and still get the same results. Yeah. So that's something that they're thinking about doing sometime in the future, which would be really, really cool. Yeah. They are going to go back to this site because there was no resolution. Yeah. And I think that's the smart thing to do. You didn't get the results that you were hoping for. You didn't figure out what was going on. So you analyze, go back, regroup, and do it again.
And it was interesting. Another part was when they were talking to the owners. Mm-hmm. It was a blue lady.
Yeah.
Not, the typical white lady or the dark lady.
Oh, thank God. I'm so tired of hearing about the lady in white. Yeah. It isn't always a lady in white.
And how every guest, she would brag about the color blue. Because she likes blue. And I've never heard that before. No. And that was refreshing.
It was a refreshing change.
Yes.
It absolutely was.
So well done.
Well done. And, we're going to keep watching and seeing how this series evolves with the next one. And I'm really looking forward to having them return to this site. Yeah. Okay. So the next one that we found, because, again, it popped up in our recommendeds, was the new Reality Paranormal. And the most latest episode was The Demonic Old Hag. That's Bruce's nickname for me. Anyway, they say this is a private investigation. So this is our first time watching them. So I'm assuming they also do some of the bigger sites, but they also do private investigations. Yeah. I personally have much respect for people that do private investigations, because truly that's the meat and potatoes of paranormal investigating. Yeah. People shouldn't get into the field because they want the fame and the glory of going to all these fancy places. No, it should be about helping people and solving real problems. Yeah. So getting into it then, Took a while to figure out the names of these people because there's no credits. It just, I know, goes straight into it. And because we've never seen these people before, one of the things that I found it confusing was when Sean, one of the investigators, says he feels that it's an old woman with black hair. Well, how? How does he feel that? Is he a sensitive, an intuitive, an empath, a medium? How would he know that? How would he feel that? I have no idea because there's no introduction to who these people are.
Yeah. And maybe because we didn't see the very first one.
But you can't assume that people are watching from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get new subscribers if you just assume that these are the same people who have been following you forever? Right? No, this is a new thing to us. I don't know who you people are. Yeah. I don't know your skills.
Yeah.
What I did like was their attitude about this private investigation, where they said, because there's people involved, we're going to approach it differently.
And there's children involved.
My personal opinion is an investigation is an investigation. There should be no reason to approach it differently. You are still investigating. And you should use the same techniques, the same ideas, thoughts, the way you investigate. It shouldn't change just because it's a home.
Yeah.
You know? Yes, there's children involved. That's going to have a more urgency, more immediacy. Yeah. But I don't think that it should be different, but that's my opinion. Also, in the very beginning where they were talking, they had that piano. You mentioned it, the piano music.
Yeah, and you couldn't hear the guy do the intro over the piano.
So, fellas, if you're listening, next time bring that piano music, which was lovely, just down a couple of notches so we can hear your voice. Yeah. So then they say right up front their plan is to figure out what it is and then cleanse it. Yeah. And I guess they don't show the cleansings all the time. Yeah. So this time they're going to show it, which is really kind of cool. I always like to see how other people, cleanse things. But again, biggest thing, 0 credits, no idea who. I don't know any of that. So this is an hour-long episode, and it really felt like an hour.
Yeah.
Not to say that it was all bad, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
They proper use of tagging.
Yeah.
Which I liked. I like seeing that. Yeah. You don't see that often in a lot of, even some of the professional shows, you don't see that. I don't see that on Ghost Adventures anymore. Yeah. They used to, a long time ago. Yeah. They don't anymore.
Yeah.
But I like to see.
Had a soul.
Did you say that out loud? Yeah. So I like to see tagging because that way you know what you're hearing is real. I liked that the one gentleman, Cody, did an EMF sweep when he went into a room that he hadn't been in.
Yeah.
That was good to see. He's sweeping the room to make sure there's no EMF interference because we know how important that is.
Yeah.
We've done some investigations where people have been seeing things, like hearing things, and it turns out it's fear cage kind of stuff from incredibly high EMF. Yeah. Take away the EMF and wow, the paranormal activity stopped. Well, it's because there wasn't paranormal activity. But anyway, another thing that I liked was, again, he talked about the obelisk, saying that...
it says mommy all the time.
Yeah, because the word came out mommy. And he said, it says mommy all the time, so take that with a grain of salt. So basically he's saying, without saying, is that the obelisk doesn't always give you the exact words. It spits out random words, which we've said over and over, and you have to take them in context. Yeah. Now, one thing that I didn't like is they're boxing up the frames that they were going to film in, and, so they could have both guys in the frame, and to me, that little bit when they're fixing it should have been edited out.
Yeah.
There was a lot of issues with focus. Yeah. So I don't know what camera they were using, but every time they'd move, it would have to refocus. And it was after about, 45 minutes. My comment below is focus.
Yeah.
fix your damn focus, boys.
Yeah.
If it's autofocus, well, fix it.
Yeah.
Or use a better camera, because it was really frustrating. They did try to debunk things as they went.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't think they were quite as effective. Just wait till we get to that one. I know which one you're going to say.
No, but the knocking.
Oh, we're not there yet.
Okay.
But yeah, the knocking is an issue. The debunking, the first one was the K2.
Yeah.
Remember, it was going off, and then Sean says, no, it's you as you're moving it around. So that's why it's going off. So I liked they did that. They also tried to debunk the SLS at one point, but they didn't quite.
Well, Sean said, no, I feel something on the TV, but you feel static from the big screen TV.
Right.
And his arm was
right by
it.
And the other thing is the SLS, certain cameras are notorious for reflective surfaces.
Yeah, and they all are, because it uses a light.
Right.
Yeah.
So the reflective surface, they've got a person showing, and then there's another one, which is almost exact...
Upside down
of it. Yeah, and they didn't quite get that. Yeah. So we could see it. We could see the arm reaching out on both sides. Yeah. But it was just... And obviously the reflection was kind of funky. Yeah. But it was a reflection. As soon as he moved away,
and
it went
guys,
away.
You should never point your camera at a mirror.
No. Any camera, whether it's the SLS or any camera, you're going to get all kinds of artifact and screw-ups.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. So that was a big thing. Yeah. The transitions between scenes was really good. They faded really well. They edited that very smoothly. Yeah. It was very nice. But here is your issue, the knocks.
Yeah. Unless we can hear them, or, it's a soft knock. Well, it could be a creaking floorboard,
Houses make noises.
Yes.
And unless it's blatant.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't have to be 3 knocks, but you know what I mean, like a blatant knock. But just a soft sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not everything is a knock. Not everything is a ghost.
No. Yeah. So that was interesting. And the other thing that I didn't like. Oh, I'm sorry, you had something else.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to go too much ahead of you, but when he's laying on the bed doing the
suddenly Cody's on the bed in the kids' room with the noise canceling headphones and the mask, and there was no warning.
No.
Suddenly they just pan the camera, and we thought it was a mannequin. And then suddenly he starts speaking. He's like, oh shit, what the hell was that? Yeah. So, there should be a little bit of warning there.
I'm going to do the
Let's do this, the sensory deprivation thing, which actually to me felt very contrived.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was imagining things and making them up, but it just seems so fake.
Like Harry Potter?
So, I don't know. It just seemed so fake to me that they were trying to bring something out. Yeah. Now, that's not to say that the rest of the investigation was bad. I think it was fairly decent, but one other thing that I truly didn't like was the taunting.
Yeah.
Now, they said going in that when they figured out what it was, they were going to cleanse the place. But Sean kept saying, you do realize that this is your last night here, we're going to kick you out. You do realize that this is it, and you're going, and we're going to cleanse this house. What the hell, dude? You're constantly taunting. If this is something bad, you're setting yourself up for all kinds of trouble.
Yeah.
And why? You don't want to taunt when you're trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah. Because if it is something...
Especially when it's quiet like that. Like, it didn't seem to be haunted, but they were there because they called them in. So there's obviously something there, but don't taunt if it's not.
It was a very quiet investigation by all means. But that, ghosts do not dance on command for you, they don't. So with all the taunting, you have to wonder what's going to happen when they leave. Now, when they left, though, they did cleanse the house, which I found was really an interesting...
But he missed a room. Like, if...
Well, we don't know that because did they show it all?
Yeah.
I just don't know.
But, you know, they should have said, you know, and this is something about if you're going to do that, show it all.
Yeah.
Don't
show part of it.
Show part of it and expect your viewing audience to know that you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't assume.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he used, did they say sandalwood?
Well, he didn't say.
Oh, he didn't even say what he was using.
Yeah,
so he just had some stick that he was lighting. We don't know what kind. I mean, sage, I'm going to assume it was either sage or sandalwood. Those are the ones people use the most. But that's us assuming now because we don't know what they used. Yeah. He was just the next frame suddenly cleansing.
Lighting this thing and wafting. Going to the corners.
And stuff. So I mean, it was good in that way. And then saying the things that he says to cleanse and, you know. Yeah. That part was good, and for people who've never seen it before, I guess that was would probably be interesting. Yeah. But it's nothing that is new for us, so we're looking for the realism, all that stuff.
Yeah, doing it right.
And then at the very, very end, they had a nice long list of their patrons, so people who have donated, which was lovely to see, but again, no credits to who they were.
Yeah.
So... would you watch them again?
It's hard to say.
I found it to be the investigation itself. They never, and this was it too. They called it the demonic old hag. There was nothing in this investigation to call it a demonic old hag. So I don't know where they got that from. Yeah. To me, there's something there, but what is it? They have not determined what it is. Yeah. They do know that it was something obviously negative that was bothering the family, so hence clearing it. But don't call it a demonic old hag when you don't know for sure that it is.
There
was no evidence to prove anything. Yeah. There was no evidence. All it was one slight, quiet little EVP that says, yeah. And that's it. Yeah. There wasn't much else. Yeah. Some knocks and bangs that they're attributing to a ghost, but it could be just house settling sounds. Yeah. There was no specific anything. There was a couple episodes of a REM pod going off, and then those little balls that were going off. That was interesting. Oh, and one time the grid went off. Yeah, because you heard the pop.
But we didn't get to see it. We heard it.
Yeah, we heard the pop, and then when you pan out there, then the grid is off. Yeah. So I mean, there was some stuff, and I don't know, but the investigation. While I would say fairly well done, it just didn't translate well to whatever they were trying to do. Yeah. I think it needs to be firmed up a little bit to make it a bit more professional. But this was just one episode. I would watch another one to see if it's maybe just this one. This, again, is a private investigation, so maybe it's, they obviously different from what they normally do. So I would probably now watch one of their older ones to see how they do those ones. Yeah. So it's still on our list to watch, but we'll see. The jury's open on this one.
Well, we have I think a high standard.
Yes.
If you want to go onto YouTube and show off that you know what you're doing and show it. Don't, assume. Yeah. There was too many assumptions.
Yeah, and again, like I say, you can't assume that everybody that's watching has watched you 100 times before. Yeah. You're going to get new viewers along the way, such as us, who are now having these questions. Who are you people? And what qualifies you to do this? Yeah. Some of the statements, there's an old woman with black hair. Really? How do you get that? Yeah. There was nothing about that. So it was very confusing to us.
It was.
Very confusing. I will certainly give them the benefit of the doubt, watch again, because it wasn't all bad. Yeah. There was some very good elements. Yeah. But there was also some things that I questioned.
Yeah. And if you're going to say, did you hear that?
Oh, I hate that.
You know, I don't like that because I can't hear it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But there was a couple things that they played back off their voice recorders, and then we could hear it that time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I really, really detest that. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Shut up and let me hear it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think sometimes these people going in, their imaginations are on high alert, and they hear every little creak and groan and floorboard movement, and they just assume everything is a ghost.
Yeah.
Now, again, as we're saying, we're not saying that this one was, because the family that called them in obviously have issues.
Yeah.
And some of the things they said was kind of disturbing.
Yeah.
But you gotta, if you're investigating, you've gotta have something to show the family.
And remember, the point is never point your SLS at a TV,
at a reflective surface,
or a mirror or a window, because
that's the same with any camera. Yeah. Any camera.
You're not going to get anything.
Well, what you're going to get is false evidence.
Yeah. Well, anything.
Right. Yeah. You're going to get false evidence, and you're going to, yeah. So lots of comments on that one, but again, like I said, not all bad. We'll watch again. Yeah. See, I would hope they go back to this house sometime to see if everything that they've done worked.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to find that out.
Yeah.
But again, these 2 episodes were things that we found, and of course, truly enjoyed the Searchers. We'll watch them again. And this one, the new Reality Paranormal. That's it. We'll watch them again and see how they go, and we'll let you guys know how we feel. We will put links in the bottom just in case you want to check them out. I certainly would check them out, see if you have the same feelings that we do. Of course, we're going to put the links to the Searchers in there because we love them, and we want to have their followers. Also, too, if you like these shows, any shows that we are reviewing, let us know too. But they throw ads in there for a reason, and the ads are to make money so they can produce more. With the Searchers, we did watch every ad through this time because we know that that's what they're for. Yeah. A lot of times, the first time we watch an episode, we'll click through, and then if we really do truly want to support them, then we're going to start watching the ads, and we would encourage you to do the same. Make up your mind if you're going to watch them again. If not, well, you know what? That's okay. And Pickles says that this is enough, and he wants our attention. So that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tagging along with us. Have a good afternoon or evening.
Yeah, goodbye and happy hunting.
Happy hunting. Bye now.